Nityanandam, welcome to today's session, the third Enlightened Parenting session of this year. I welcome all the parents, acharyas who are joining me live in the Zoom as well as on Facebook. A very warm welcome to all of you for coming to this session. So let me just again recap on the topic. Okay, so let's see first. Today's topic is, why should Ahimsa, non-violence, be taught to children as the universal truth? Okay, my name is Manitya Dugananda. We're doing the third session on Enlightened Parenting. So let me just first begin by chanting the Sadguru Vandanam. Let's welcome Swamiji into the space. Join your palms together. Nityanandam Paramasukaram Kevalam Jnanamutim Dvandvatitam Gaganashatrisham Tattvamasya Dilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Savadi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Satgurantam Namami. Om Nityananda Paramashivoham Om Nityananda Paramashivoham Om Nityananda Paramashivoham. Okay, very warm welcome to all of you. I'm really excited about today's session because it's a topic that is, very, very important, which is very much established in the grand narrative of Hinduism. So without further ado, let me just quickly share the document. And see, I want to spend a little bit more time in the Q&A session, because in this session itself, which I'm touching on the principle of non-violence, Ahimsa, it is actually going to be the solution for many, many problems that the kids are facing today, whether it's bullying, whether it's suicide, whether it's a lot of psychosomatic disorder like depression and anxiety attack, all kinds of disorder or social problem that we're seeing in children and young people. This one solution is very important. So that's why I want all of you to provide a listening, because all of you as either parents or acharyas, you're going to be facing many of these cases more and more in the coming future, because the world has come to a time where all these important solutions are not taught to the children at a very young age. So I want to bring this up again so we can have a meaningful discussion. Okay. So let me just share the document. So the way how I'm going to present this segment is, I will present the principle of Ahimsa based on Vedic knowledge, Vedic principle from Sanatana Hindu Dharma. Then I talk about what is happening around the world based on some statistic that we're finding, to give you a snapshot of what is happening. Okay. Then we'll go deeper into Ahimsa as a principle, how the way it was taught in the past, whether it's in Gurukul, in a lot of our lifestyle, why this is missing, and what we're seeing right now, a lot of problems stem for this missing, principle, which is being enriched or lived in the society. Okay, so let's get into the understanding of Ahimsa. See, Ahimsa means non-violence. In the Sanskrit is Ahimsa, non-violence is the translation. See, one of the greatest value of Hinduism or Sanatana Hindu Dharma is Ahimsa Paramo Dhammaha. Basically, it means, see, Ahimsa is the highest value in Hinduism. It is a grand narrative of Hinduism. So when Swamiji say, what is Ahimsa? It means non-violent means dropping the aggression, this terrorism, this anger, not dropping this not by dropping activism or enriching and withdrawing from life. Because a lot of problem with Hindus is they think that by being non-violence means not active and not enriching and just withdraw from life. He said that is the misconception of non-violence. When he said non-violence means drop your aggression, terrorism, your anger, whether it's towards outer world or towards self. So ahimsa doesn't only restrict to other beings. Ahimsa begins with self. We have to start with self by being non-violent to yourself, okay? And non-violence needs to be lived, and actively enriched to more and more people, okay? So this is what Swamiji's, in the earlier satsang, he advocated that we should again bring out the highest value of Hinduism, which is non-violence, and again give non-violence as a grand narrative of Hinduism. Okay, so let's look at what Yoga Sutra Patanjali defines ahimsa as. See, ahimsa forms one of the 5 yamas, the 5 universal principles. They are, okay, ahimsa, non-violence, asteya, truthfulness, satya, truthfulness, asteya, non-stealing, brahmacharya, purity, or living like God, aparigraha, living with minimum things. These are the 5 universal principles or law called yama. And in Yoga Sutra Patanjali's chapter 2, Sutra 82, chapter 2, verse 31, it says these great vows are universal truth, not conditioned on and not restricted by birth, your race, your place and time or situation or circumstances where you took birth. All these 5 vows are universal, okay? And Patanjali said that yama is not just the law, it is the energy that makes the law into reality, okay? So law and law enforcement energy both are called yama. When you realize the source of yama, you need not practice. It will happen in you just by understanding this whole principle. When you realize the source of both, you don't have to practice. It will happen naturally. And this is very true. When I first tried to read Yoga Sutra, before I met Swamiji, because I was already a yoga teacher, so I was trying to read Yoga Sutra Patanjali. And these 5 vows or 5 yama, when I read it, it was, okay, it makes sense to me intellectually, but I was not able to practice it. Till only Swamiji happened in my life, then I was able to practice it, able to live it. So that is, because he was able to make me understand these 5 vows, these 5 principles of the universal truth. And when I start imbibing it, simply I start living it by its nature. So violence, he said that violence first burns you before you give it to others. It means you yourself, that's why he said that, he told all the Gurukul kids, when you become violent, you're hurting yourself rather than others. A lot of people may not understand. Violence first burns you. Then because of you being burned, then you try to give it to others. So having violence to someone is wasting your life fundamentally. You're actually wasting your life because you're getting stuck in someone else's life. You're wasting your time, energy in someone else's life. Don't get yourself trapped in this violence. That's what he says, okay? So now let's look at what is happening around the world, and especially in Asia. I have no time to collect the data with other parts of the world, like in the US and in Europe. So I think for the acharyas, you guys should take a time, Gurukul acharya should take the time to go and do some research on the kind of data on violence done to children, violence done to self, to give you a landscape a reality check of what is happening out there, okay? Because I live in Singapore, so I'm able to dig up some of the data. So I'm going to present Singapore and some data from Asia. So let's look at first Singapore. Last month, okay, 20th of July, the whole Singapore was shocked by a child, a 16-year-old boy. He was charged with murdering a fellow student, a 13-year-old boy, in school toilet. He carried an axe and he killed the 13-year-old. Violence in the school was unheard of killing, okay? You may have some bullying happening in the past, but this one is like killing, bringing an axe, a weapon, into the school and killing a 13-year-old boy in the toilet. This is what rocked the whole Singapore. It was really sad, okay? And you also, when we look at the last year's data, just end of last year, bullying climate in Singapore, 1 out of 4 children are victims of bullying. It means what? A lot of violence are happening within the kids. As a result, they are actually vomiting the violence to others. It means kids are disturbed at a very young age. When they are disturbed internally, they also start vomiting the violence towards others. You see, in Sanatana Hindu Dharma, it says that when you're at peace, you have deep inner peace. You can never, if you are in this Paramashanta Swarupa, that means in this inner peace, you can never do any harm or violence in the outer world, not to yourself. When you see that, children at a very young age are becoming, not only just victims of bullying. When children are becoming violent, it means it's symptomatic of something fundamentally wrong in the way we're bringing up our kids. Understand? Something is fundamentally wrong or missing in the way we're bringing out our kids. In fact, just yesterday, I received a friend who's working in the Samaritans of Singapore. It means some social group, okay, SOS. And she received a message from one guy. He said, I still wanted to die. How? It was just a message in the Facebook. Can you see? This guy has been on psychiatric depression drugs for 20 years and he's still not able to walk out. It means what? Psychiatrists, therapy, all these are not working because fundamentally the root cause of depression is a spiritual issue. But when we are not addressing to the root cause of the depression, these kids or this youngster can never walk out of depression, okay? It is a spiritual cancer, depression. It's a spiritual issue. We need to help them to align back to themselves. It means looking at self, their understanding about self is fundamentally flawed. So here, let's look at the SOS report. Samaritans of Singapore, SOS. The situation is suicide is the leading cause of death for those aged from 10 to 29. These are our prime next generation. And just by last year alone, we had 452 suicides in Singapore, okay? Suicide is the leading cause of death for those aged 10 and 29. Here's a report, and there are 5 times more deaths from suicide than accident. It means more and more people are killing themselves than accident. 452 lives were lost to suicide last year, and male accounts for more than 70% of all the suicide. It means male body has less ability to handle suicide or depression, okay, as compared to female. So in every suicide, at least 6 suicide survivors are left behind. That means 6 people are linked to one suicide case. That means the people who are left incomplete, guilty. At least 6 people carry that. Okay, at least 6 suicide survivors are left behind. Okay, so now this is a scenario for Singapore. Very, very disturbing. Let's go into Malaysia. Malaysia case, just alone in this year, 5 months, 468 suicide cases. And it gets even worse because of the COVID pandemic. Malaysia see rise in suicide and calls to helplines during this period. As you all know, that Malaysia is one of the worst hit by the coronavirus pandemic. Okay. And also a shocking statistic, 4 suicide cases a day in first 3 months of this year. Okay, which means what? It's a very high case, 4 per day. It times the number of days per month, 4 times 30 days. You can do your numbers, see the numbers. So citing the data from the police, okay, this reporter says that last year there was 631 suicide cases, an increase from 609 recorded in 19. And this year is within first 5 months, it's already 468. By end of this year, you can imagine it's definitely going to cross last year's figure. Okay, you will cross last year's figure. So Malaysia has very high suicide rate as well. Let's look at Hong Kong and Macau. You know, I just captured some information. And just, you know, a report just today that one 10-year-old girl from a reputable school, branded school, best bear in mind, the 16-year-old boy who killed the 13-year-old boy in Singapore also came from a branded school, reputable school, okay? So a 10-year-old girl started hitting people, okay? Means what? A lot of internal violence resulting in outer violence, bullying. Number of suicide increases in 2020, okay? So in Macau also. So you can look at the suicide rates by age group in Hong Kong also, okay? So you can see that in general, even in Taiwan, youth suicide in Taipei rising fast, okay? You say the Taipei Department of Health yesterday said that the number of suicide of young people in the city has grown rapidly in the past 2 years, adding that mental health issue is the main reason for suicide behavior. Last year alone, 339 people died from suicide in the city. That's the city, okay? And so what, and he said the number of deaths from suicide among the youngsters 15 to 24 increased from 17 to 28, which is a 64.7% increase, okay? And here we have Melbourne. Someone just texted, over 40 young people a week admitted to hospital for mental health in Melbourne, 6 months waiting list to see psychiatrists. It means what? A lot of young people are getting disturbed in their inner space. Okay, sorry, Paramashantini. Let me slow down. I know you are doing translation. Sorry about that. So basically here, I'm just trying to present some of the statistics from Singapore, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Macau, Taiwan, Australia. These countries in Asia. I will not even talk about India, Europe, nor in America. Okay. But you can see the trend globally. A lot of violence, a lot of bullying, a lot of suicide. All these are on the rise. That is one stark conclusion that we can have about the state of affair, the mental health of children, young adults globally. So in a nutshell, increase in violence has become a major social issue among children, youth in the world. When I was doing this preparing for these slides, when I look at the figure, it just made me feel so sad. What has happened to the world? We really need some fundamental change. Not just our children, but the parents, many people need to be involved in this whole worrying trend. And if you are still not awake to this worrying trend, then you will be just by a watcher. You'll be watching all this thing happening in front of our eyes without knowing what to do, how to even enrich and help. So today's Enlightened Parenting session, I know it is a topic very heavy, loaded with a lot of emotion, but I feel it's a very, very important session that everyone, whether you're watching from Facebook, whether you're watching on, in the Zoom with me, this is going to be one very, very important puzzle that many of us need to solve. And I can tell you the solution only comes from Sanatana Hindu Dharma. Psychiatrists, psychoanalysts, drugs are not the permanent solution. They may temporarily sedate, make the person come down and not do anything. But the root cause of the mental setup is not eradicated. It's not removed, which means the tendency to fall back into the pattern of depression, disorder exists, still remain, only by a fundamental shift in the cognition to become life positive, to become in awe with life again. That only can get people, the youngster, children, out of this violent mental setup. Okay. So let's look at why this Ahimsa should be taught, lived, and enriched as a universal truth. Okay, so I'm going back to the original teaching within Sanatana Dharma. Then we can go into further discussion. Ahimsa, nonviolence, is a power. From Yoga Sutra 86, chapter 2, verse 36. Patanjali says that when a yogi is established in non-killing, all enmity ceased in his presence. So I read again and let me repeat. When a yogi is established in non-killing, which is ahimsa, all enmity ceased in his presence. Okay. See, if somebody is established in ahimsa, in his very presence, all negativity, hostility will completely disappear. If you look at Swamiji's life, he had been persecuted, many assassination attempts, many persecution, and even poisoning happened to him. When it comes to a stage for him, because he's established in non-violence, he just withdrew himself from the society and just be away from the society, but continue to do his work of enriching and initiating people into this whole science of living enlightenment. Okay, so this is a clear example how he's living by his very life, of how so much violence, how so much enmity people cherish on him, but he is not affected because he's a yogi who is established in non-violence. In that, all the hostility and negativity cease to exist. That means in his presence, they are not able to hold anything. It means hold him back from what he is here to accomplish. He's here to, basically his mission, what his mission is supposed to do. So any idea, whatever you are established, all the people in your presence will feel it or experience the truth. Understand? Truth has its own tremendous strength over your biomemory and all the people who are around you. So Swamiji said that his biomemory is established in bliss, Nitya Ananda, eternal bliss. So anyone that comes to his presence feels that bliss, experience that bliss. So your unconsciousness, the way how you're thinking, unconsciously is 100 times more powerful than your consciousness. So that is the reality. It's easy to fall into unconsciousness because it is 100 times more powerful. That's when many people fall into addiction. Addiction is because being unconscious, unaware. To fall back to consciousness, you need to really bring awareness. Whenever awareness is infused, addiction just loses its power over you. So the whole world understand. Patanjali, when when this sutra was expounded by Swamiji, he said that the whole world is just a mirror, a reflection, a context of what you hold, how you respond to the context. The context responds to you. The context is a living, independent intelligence. If you understand the context, you will not blame the world for anything or how the world is torturing you. You will not point finger outwards. You turn your energy inside. The idea that the context is harassing you, it is just your justification for violence. Some people say, oh, I become angry and violent because they make me angry. They make me like this. They have become this, which means what? You're justifying all these things, for your own violence. See, non-violence is the ultimate shield and strategy. It's the best life strategy. It is a powerful energy which can bend the air, okay? When you are established in non-violence, it is a power. When you make context joyful, let's say your context is joyful, bliss, okay? Context makes you joyful as well. If you're established in non-violence, in your very present, all kinds of hostility, enmity simply disappears. So that's what Patanjali says. And Swamiji in the satsang last year, he said that Ahimsa is a power. He further explained that you manifest extraordinary power in you. You will manifest extraordinary power in you when you are established in Ahimsa. Not only just all enmity melts, like what Patanjali said in the earlier slide. If you taste aggression, violent, if you associate aggression and heroism, see, in this world, the media has created this wrong idea that aggression, by being aggressive, they are celebrated as heroes. They see them fight and, oh, violence is heroism. Swamiji said, this is an absolutely immature brain. Immature consciousness and existence. If you associate Paramashanta, that means peace, inner peace, and heroism, that says, wait, do not react. That means you don't respond to the violence which are presenting in front of you, okay? Then you taste Ahimsa. A mind which is mature taste for Ahimsa, which has a mature taste for Ahimsa, non-violence, reflects power. So the consciousness that is mature enough to cherish Paramashanta, inner peace, as heroism, peace is what should be celebrated. It's patient, non-reaction. And Paramashanta is non-violence as heroism becomes a power. Sorry. Okay, so this is how Ahimsa are taught in Nityananda Gurukul. Okay, see, in Swamiji's Gurukul, the Balasam, the kids, are taught this universal principle and its power. So Swamiji make them sit with a rose plant. They're supposed to adopt a rose plant, and Connect with the rose plant, talk to the rose plant to drop its thorns from the complete non-violent space. If there's any violence, they're still cherishing. The rose plant will not drop its thorns. Okay? So they have to practice this over a period of time till the space becomes totally non-violence. As a sign of that non-violence is the rose will be able to flower without any thorn, will be able to grow without any thorns. Have you seen rose without thorns? Because by its nature, the thorns by the rose is to protect itself. But by your sheer compassion, by your sheer space of non-violence, ahimsa, the power you have is able to convince even the plant to drop its thorns because it becomes comfortable with you. So the Guru Balasan has demonstrated this power of making rose plants drop their thorns in the space of ahimsa, non-violence. So this is what is taught in Gurukul. One of the fundamental principle of universal principle that they are taught beside the other four, which is, Satya, Asteya, Aparigraha, and Brahmacharya. Ahimsa is taught as a universal truth, and so to make them go through this process of cultivating ahimsa inner space by making the plant drop their thorns. And Swamiji says that ahimsa should be the strategy for life. See, even he has been attacked, abused, trying to be assassinated, killed. Swamiji continues to maintain ahimsa and non-violence because, see, by our culture, we breathe and live and believe ahimsa. Okay? See, when you decide that this powerful verse, ahimsa paramo dhammaha, which means you have decided that ahimsa is basically the central part of the Dharma. It means Dharma is the center in which you are going to make all your decisions. Then there's no question of being cunning, selfish, constantly exploiting strategy, because those strategies may get some benefit initially, but will start developing deep self-doubt in you. See, when you're violent, not only to others, but yourself, like trying to inflict a lot of self-harming, a lot of what you call it? Violence to yourself, whether it's in the form of destroying your possibility, you will develop a very deep self-doubt in you. You'll never get out of this self-doubt because the violence is what creates the self-doubt in you. And forever you'll be stuck in the self-doubt. Okay? And with self-doubt comes fear. Fear comes violence again. You're caught in this vicious cycle. Understand? Deep self-doubt gets created when you are violent, especially to yourself and others. And that feeling of you not being sure about you and how you will behave and live your life in the future, okay? And fundamentally, it leads to implosion. You just collapse eternally. If you don't get out of this violence to yourself, you will lead to implosion and you collapse, okay? That is what's happening with depression. You just collapse. So already in the Dharma, in Sanatana Hindu Dharma, it is already spelled out very clearly why non-violence should be the strategy. If you harbor this violence, cunningness, all this trying to exploit others, thinking that others are doing, everybody is doing, it's okay, to be part of this and everyone is doing it, then you are encouraging yourself to fall into this deep self-doubt and leading to your self-destruction. Understand? So if parents, you understand this fundamental truth that ahimsa should be the strategy for life, you will not allow domestic violence in your home at all. You should start living it and impart that biomemory, muscle memory, powerful cognition to your children. to the people in the family, and they start living it. A lot of violence in kids stem from domestic violence only, because parents are living with a lot of violence themselves. Because of their violence, they inflict the violence to the kids, and kids are also being tortured. They start vomiting the same violence in school, around their peers. So I want all of you to take a moment to pause at this slide, because it is the fundamental truth where all of you need to catch, all of you need to internalize, all of you need to live it and start enriching. Okay? If you accept, you declare by today now, Ahimsa Paramo Dhammaha. Basically, I decided that Ahimsa is going to be my life strategy. Then all kind of cunningness, all kind of selfish, self-inflicting patterns, exploiting strategy you are doing to others and yourself, you simply will drop it. It's a conscious decision. First, you yourself get out of this violent nature. Then you can start enriching others about this strategy for life. Understand? Let me just continue. Ahimsa lets you explore the romance dimension in life. See, many people feel life is empty. This is an absolute delusion and false idea with which people who think that way, you're stuck. If you have not explored the conscious dimension of you, you are missing out in the conscious dimension of you, the higher dimension of you. Because you never see the larger picture of you, you never associate yourself at the consciousness level. That's why you find life is empty, you find life is boring, and you want to end your life quickly. This is where the fundamental disconnect is. Where is a conscious dimension, which you have not even explored? Once you explore this dimension, you will see the romance of life start happening. Your life feels spicy. Right now, you don't feel life is, exciting. Life is spicy. Life is romantic. You don't feel that because the consciousness is not awakened. The conscious dimension, you're still asleep, dormant. See, once you start exploring the conscious dimension of you, the possibility and powers absolute Navikapa Samadhi state. See, when Swamiji say conscious dimension, it means the state of Paramashiva, which is unclutching, the space of Paramashiva, space of completion, being of Paramashiva, absolute Suddha Avaita, it means in oneness, and powers, manifesting powers, and the superconsciousness of Paramashiva. That is what he meant by the conscious dimension. You start radiating him. So he said to get rid of this violent nature, himsa nature. He said ahara suddhi. The suddhi means cleansing. Ahara means what you feed to your five senses. See, ahara means food. It doesn't mean food you feed to your mouth, but food you feed to all the five senses, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your hearing, and your touch. He said that don't even allow abusers, words or ideas, anything they utter, to enter into your system. Ignore and move out, which is what he did. So much of violence and nonsense and the false news has been done on Swamiji. What he did, he just ignored and moved out. He'd never go and fight with them. That's why in the satsang he said, if you go and fight with them, he will have wasted his life for what he needs to do. So he just moved up and continued doing his work. So this is one of a very powerful strategy. He said, clean up. That means don't allow them to enter into your system. Don't even read them, watch them, listen to them. Because what you see, what you hear, and what you digest is going to impact your inner space. So don't even allow it to get into your consciousness. Okay. Only by exploring by allowing ahimsa to be established in your being, your consciousness, your strategy, you start discovering romance with life. Romance can only happen when you drop violence. I tell you one of my personal experience, you may have heard it in the past. See, in 2012, I realized that I had this anger problem, anger pattern, and I used to use that anger on my son Kai. And one day he didn't listen to me. He didn't want to listen to me. So I got angry. So I started to take a wooden ladder, like a stick, chasing around him in my house, running. He was laughing as usual. He was just thinking it was just funny. So he the more he see my angry face, he laughed. So the more I see him laugh, the more I get angry. I get, So I was running in the house, chasing after him. Like Tom and Jerry, if you can imagine. Tom and Jerry running in the house. Then suddenly he tried to run away from me and he jumped onto my bed and he fell and landed on the head and the fall. He knocked his head. And that's where he started crying. And that moment, everything just stood still for me. I just had a aha moment. Oh my God, got totally shaken, because what if he died? What if he break his head and he died? Because of me or my, uncontrollable violence, anger, I have caused a life. What is going to happen to me? I was not able to, see, that's why I say when you have violence, you not only destroy you destroy others as well. So it is just that moment I had that click. And then when I went to see Swamiji, I told him, please get rid of this anger pattern once and for all. So, and I worked consciously to get out this anger pattern, because it was something that was deeply created when I was young, due to my relationship with my mother, my biological mother. So that anger was actually, it started from there. So I have to trace back the root of the anger, which is came from my mother, my relationship, my incubation with mother. So when I completed everything, all this whole violent nature start to, go away. It loses power, over me. So same way, whoever has this anger issue, look at the source of your anger and complete with that. Then you will see the whole violent nature loses power over you. Okay. So now I'm just going to pause now. Stop the share. We are going to enter into the Q&A, because I want to spend a lot more time in this, because there are many issues that we need to discuss. I'm just giving first the right powerful cognition why Ahimsa should be taught universally to all the children and the future generation. Why this should be lived by and reached more and more. If you are a living Hindu, you need to get back. Do not think that by doing nothing, by being passive, is non-violent. No. By actively, helping people to live non-violence, ahimsa, enriching people to live in this whole universal principle. And you also, living by example, will only start to reduce the amount of violence on planet Earth. The consciousness can only take the quantum shift only when violence starts to reduce. See, because of violence, we're exploiting Mother Nature. That's why so much natural calamities, even the whole pandemic, it's also an act of violence, the control to bring suffering and, to the common mass. It is an blatant expression of violence. Understand? So let's look at, I'm going to stop sharing now. All right, I'm going to take question now. Let's see in YouTube. So not YouTube, Facebook. Okay, how to complete inner violence? Yes, that's the very first question. From Ma Shankari, how to complete with the inner violence? Like I mentioned from my example, you need to trace back the root of this inner violence. This inner violence directed to self. Okay, like you have the tendency to harm yourself. You have a tendency to abuse yourself, hatred for yourself, angry with yourself. Let's say you want to do something and you're not able to do it, and you become angry with yourself, and you fall into this deep anger with yourself. You start to become violent with yourself. You try to punish yourself. Can everyone relate with that? You want to do something and you cannot do, and then you get angry with yourself and you try to punish yourself. Can someone relate with that? Raise your hand. Yes. You punishing yourself is violence. Okay? You think by punishing yourself, you make yourself feel better. That's why all this self-cutting, if you've seen a lot of youth cut themselves, take knife to slit themselves, cut their hand until don't know how many wounds, all kinds of self-harming. Because by doing violence, they feel better. They numb themselves with violence. You yourself refusing to get back to consciousness is the root cause of this perpetuation of the violence. So you need to find the root of why you started this violence towards self. Once you find the root, you just have to go and relieve it and just drop it. Because you know that if you continue with this pattern of violence, you will not only destroy you, you'll destroy others, right? You are the first one that's going to get destroyed because you will destroy you first. That's why you're not able to experience this inner peace, Paramashanta Swarupa. It sounds like a remote fantasy for you because you never experienced space, because you're still cherishing violence inside you. When violence is not removed, you can't taste that inner peace and the juice of life. Till you remove that, bliss start oozing up from every pore of your skin. Understand? So that is the first question from Ananda Shankari. All of you on the Zoom as well, you can ask the question. Okay. So let me just see any other question from the Facebook. Okay. Question: as a parent or teacher in school, how to bring completion to kids? Okay. See, Shankari, she's a teacher, she's a tutor. She asked very, very, I would say, very practical question. So all of you, please listen. I repeat her question. Okay. As a parent, whether you're a parent or a teacher in school, or in even Gurukul, how to bring completion to kids? Completion can only work if the parents are also involved. Okay? If the kids is complete, when they go back to see the same violent domestic violence at home, the kids get conflicting messages. So the parents also need to be enriched about this whole non-violent principle. A lot of them are victims of their own past. The legacy of violence, which has been passed on from generation, from World War I, World War II, from cultural revolution, from all kinds of violence that have been done by different races, different culture. It's like a whole karmic, the whole karmic source of that violence somehow need to be dug out and complete. Okay? Not just, sometimes it's just personal karma, sometimes it's family karma, sometimes it's a race. Let's say it's a Chinese or Indian, the kind of karma that is related to a particular race, or the karma related to humanity itself. That's another karma. Humanity itself, the violence. So I wouldn't say that it's easy to complete, but we need to start somewhere. First, start educating. Non-violence should be the strategy for life. Non-violence is not a weakness, it's a strength. Only people with a mature mind can handle and stomach, whatever harm or abuse done to you, and still be able to hold yourself up at the conscious level and manifest this as a power. Only a mature being, a mature soul can handle that. Understand? See how Swamiji handled it. Nobody can beat him. Okay, he is like the I would say the most extreme case that you can imagine. If for any one of us would go into the level where already collapse and go mad. But Swamiji, he knowing that he come down in this time of Kali Yuga, he's going to be subjected to a lot of unconsciousness. But he still came, he still landed as a human body. Knowing that he knows that he's going to get all this, right? He knows, but he still come down for all of us. Because it is established in Dharma, in his heart. He is established in consciousness. Basically, he has showed the way to all of us. So it's up to us now to live it, to enrich the world. This important universal truth, the 5 vows of Sanatana Hindu Dharma. Okay, today we're only touching on the very first vow, Ahimsa. When we miss Ahimsa, this is what is happening with the whole world. Violence, suicide, bullying, all kind of mental disorder, behavioral problem we're seeing, and selfishness in trying to destroy another race, like terrorism, not able to tolerate coexistence, oneness, not able to live together in coexistence. Only thing that by destroying them, that is the solution. But Sanatana Hindu Dharma is established in Ahimsa, which means that is what we are supposed to uphold as the universal truth. But that does not mean that we remain quiet, remain passive and non-active. the more we should be actively promoting, the more we should more actively bringing more awareness, consciousness to humanity. Why violence is not the solution. Violence should never be part of the life. Violence should be dropped. All that need to somehow be taught kids at a very young age. If you're a mother, please start teaching that to your child. Actually, you know, when my son, when he went to school, he was faced with a lot of bullying because he's by nature very happy, you know, personality, and he just radiates Swamiji's energy of bliss, and he laughed a lot, and he's just very joyful as a little boy. Many people were not able to tolerate. He got bullied left, right, center in the school at a very young age, primary school. Oh God, people would just come in and punch him and hit him for no reason, just not tolerate his bliss on his face. When he sees something, he will just laugh. They are not able to tolerate because they think that he's laughing at him. And then what happened? They just come and beat him up. So that's what has happened. What is happening in Kai's life when he was in an earlier school. So much so that he started to have to develop self-defense. He needed to defend himself because too much was going on. Till one day, he had to complete with the whole violence. It means much later, just last year, he had to sit and complete with the whole violent nature with Kala Bhairava. It was a very deep process that Kala Bhairava took him through. Okay, and because he knew by the time he knew it, so he need to complete with that. So all of you understand that completion first help. So to answer Shankari's question, first teach, then the principle, why this is so important, why by being violent you're destroying yourself and others, why you will lead to self-destruction, why this should not be a strategy. Okay, in the outer world there's too much violence. You see on the media, on newspaper, everywhere is violent. Either with games or violence. All these violence are celebrated as heroes, which is fundamentally a big issue, right? How can violence become a hero? But that's what is movies are portraying that. Even in Bollywood movies, so many Bollywood movies, they show people kill. Oh, they are celebrated. Wow, hero, very, very good, good justice. So, any other question? Okay, here. Yeah, she already answered that. So all of you, you know, after this session, first thing, if you feel that you have some inner violence, please start completing. Bring yourself to the state of Paramashanta Swarupa. You need to experience that first. Once you experience that your space is shifted, then you can start radiating that space of completion, that, you know, the space of completion, the state of, you know, unclutching, all that can start, you know, infiltrating to the people around you. You cannot teach your son non-violence if you are still establishing violence. Okay, it has to come from you first. Yes, complete with the violent. So here, Janashatika say, if the inner violence related to my mother, if I complete with mother, is it enough? Or do I still especially complete with inner violence? Do both. When you first complete it with your, you know, you see, the incident came from your mom, right? But you develop a certain pattern. What is the pattern? My pattern was anger. What is your pattern? Same also, right? So you have to complete the violent anger pattern. Because of the incompletion, it develops certain pattern. See what is the pattern. Some people is self-harming, they cut themselves, cut. That is the pattern they need to complete with themselves. like complete with the body, right? For doing all kind of atrocity to themselves, to this body. This body is a temple for your consciousness. How can you destroy the temple? So they need to do completion, not just completion with the root incident, but completion with the body. If, let's say, someone has done a lot of self-violence to the body, torturing the body, destroying the body in one way or another, the completion with the body needs to happen. Okay, so look at what for me was anger. I mean, I was not cutting myself or anything like that, but I was just anger. So I had to complete with the anger pattern and complete with my son also for causing harm to him and all that. I have to complete with him also. So different multiple level of completion needs to happen. First complete with the root incident, which is what caused by mother, and I complete within myself. And I also, because of that, of the anger pattern, I always carry a lot of guilt. So the guilt also I had to complete. There are so many interrelated issues related to one root cause of the incompletion. Then completion with other people who I have inflicted violence on them, which is my son. So layer by layer, start completing. This is one big homework that everyone should do if you have that tendency and you have been given that kind of environment. That's why in Yoga Sutra, Patanjali say the 4 things, once you remove it, you will experience consciousness, birth, right? That means the family you're born in, right? If you're born in a violent family, which I was born in a violent family, my mom was violent, then the place that you're brought up, okay, let's say you're brought up in a village where lots of violence are happening. Understand? So we see violence in day out, right? So you also feel that is normal. So, and then the time, kala, which is, see, when you take birth, there's certain astrological alignment in the whole universe. In the alignment, when you assume the body at the date, time, and place, there is certain quality that comes with the alignment. So if that is, then in the alignment is violence on your chart, your astrological chart, then you need to do something about it also. And then the last is the situation, the circumstances where, like, you assume birth. Like a lot of people, when during the birthing process, they were subjected to a lot of pain already, because they are not able to come out. When they come out, the first thing the nurse did was slap the backside and let the child scream. How do you like it when you just land on planet Earth and you're just being punished? Do you understand? In Sanatana Hindu Dharma, the way how the soul lands on planet should be handled with a lot of loving, caring environment. Ambience should be so loving and caring, so that the soul lands with a lot of joy, celebration. But in the hospital, what the nurse do? They handle you like a pig, take you out and slap you and draw all the mucus out from your throat, and it's like doing it in such a violent way. It's not like handling like a precious little bundle of joy, right? Were you handled that way? I was handled that way, slapping in the hospital, because they handle thousands of kids, year in, year out. So of course they are not going to be, like this, because they are not trained that way also. So when the child land with such a hostile environment, naturally it got frightened, right? And naturally that incompletion started to get recorded in the muscle memory already at a very young age. Okay. So it's like many things are connected to that whole violent nature. Okay, so next question I got anger pattern too. Okay, so order of completion. So yes, do that layer by layer. Okay, Jara Shadika. Okay. So let me just see any other question from Facebook Live. Now, if you don't ask question, I take it that you fully understand this whole topic and you are ready to start enriching and live it. Okay. Okay, there's no more question from the Facebook Live. Any question from this room? Paramashantini, you asked the Chinese parents who are in joining you, you ask them, see whether they have any question regarding this. I mean, you can, if you have no question, you can also share your cognition, what click inside you, what make you understand from what I presented so far, what I shared from Swamiji's satsangs and Swamiji's, life, what makes you shift that this is going to be the only strategy for life, Ahimsa. You can type on the chat and help me understand if you are able to cognize this important principle of the universal truth. Okay, so take 2 minutes to type if you have. The thing is, even though you have been a victim of violence, you don't need to carry on this legacy. At your level, break it, change it, okay? By raising your consciousness and break this whole karmic legacy, which has been going on for many generations. You break it at your level, at your generation, so that you don't impart this thing to the next generation. At least do that. Take responsibility to break this karmic cycle. Okay, so let me just see. So Jarashadika continues to say, I didn't know that Ahimsa, the truth, is so powerful that it can override our biomemory. Yes, I declare I will take Ahimsa as how I live my life from now on. Tatastu, tatastu, tatastu. Okay. So blessing. And so Ma Jayanti from Malaysia, she said, you share a very touchy incident between you and your son, really enriching. Yes. So she made me go through. I was like, oh God, I cannot be violent anymore because I was stuck there for a long time. I know I had anger problem. I don't know how to get out. It was really, really a struggle. And I can't do it with my son anymore because, here we are as Somji's disciple. We are supposed to bring enlightened kids. And I want my son to be, enlightened. And I myself have to raise my frequency in order to raise him right. So it is interconnected. So once the mother cognizes this important connection, then you have to live it because the kids will see your body language. They don't really listen to your verbalization. They see your body language, what you're behaving. Okay. If you're living it, I will invite. If you talk only, I shut my ears. No child will listen to you if you are incongruent with your behavior and what you are telling them, right? You have to live it. When you start living it, then there is this whole respect for you. When you're telling them, they know that you are telling the truth, you know that you're living it. Then for them to align, it's easier. Otherwise, they say, see, you also talk only, you never live the whole truth Swamiji tell you. Why should I do it also? You're not even doing it. Then they give them the reason not to follow. Right? So the parents have to live by example. You need to raise your frequency. For enlightened kids to happen, you yourself need to raise. You cannot expect Swamiji to do the work. And you're just destroying them, bringing them down by your unconsciousness, right? Parent has to raise the consciousness, not being unconscious. Because when you raise your consciousness, the child will also vibrate the frequency. Okay, so So there's Jared Sadika says, yes, that incident clicked with me too. I always struggling with the two sons. I have a lot of violence with them in the early days. Yes. So now take this moment, really, once you understand this fundamental truth, you need to do the proper process of completion. Okay, don't postpone anymore. Okay. So for Cherry from China, she say, 我今天刷新认识的非暴力。Yes. So she said that when you're non-violent, she really understood, cognize that when you're non-violent, you will not have cunningness and selfishness. Yes. All this selfishness and cunningness come from the violent nature. And a lot of people have this self-doubt because they're doing violence to themselves. Self-doubt is one of the worst pattern to have. Because when self-doubt happens, you have self-hatred. When self-hatred happens, you have self-denial. It's like you will jump from one pattern to another. It's like different depth of severity. From self-doubt, get to the worst, self-hatred. Then the worst is self-denial. That means you basically give up on yourself. Self-denial is the worst pattern. It means from self-doubt, you jump to self-denial. It means you have literally give up on yourself and give up on life. You don't feel that life should be lived anymore. You have no hope for yourself. That is the worst. It means what? Swamiji said that you are a possibility. Everyone is a possibility. But when you have self-denial, means what? You kill even every your possibility. You're literally dead. Short of just being buried only. You're walking dead now. A zombie. You're wasting the air, the resources on planet Earth if you have self-denial pattern. Because nothing good is going to come from you because you're already denying life. You don't see possibility in life. So get out of the self-denial pattern if you have one. Okay, so Jared Sajaki say, no, I understand it is the inner balance with me that almost destroyed me and my son. Yes. That depression comes from the inner violence, my dear. The anger, the inner violence. Okay. Now you trace back everything. You can see the food. You can see the dots, connecting all the dots now. Before that, you know that you have this problem, but I don't know how to fix it. You don't know how to solve it. You know somehow bits and pieces. Now I'm showing you the entire puzzle. You need to fix this. Okay? Great. Now let me just see any other question. Okay, here we are in Facebook. On now many questions are coming. I understand that I have so much violence inside me. How to start? How to drop the violence? I think we have discussed that with the Jared Shadika's case or so, my case or so. First of all, let me repeat again, if you are struggling with the inner violence, especially a lot of mothers, okay? If you have inner violence, you have to start from you. Please start from you. Otherwise, your child can never receive this truth because by looking at you only, they don't have trust in this whole principle. If you're not completed with your inner violence, okay? So first of all, find out the root of your inner violence. Like I say in my example, it was linked to my mother, right? My anger towards her started when she had, she did a lot of violence to all the children, including me. So I carried that anger towards her. As a mother, why is she doing this to me? So as a child, I can only cognize that I never feel close to her. I never feel that I want to be with her because she's done all this kind of thing to me. I tell my childhood, when I recall back in those days, I only remember one thing: sadness from constantly getting beaten up. That was my childhood. Okay. So naturally, I was just angry with her. Can you imagine? If you one word to describe your childhood, sadness, always get beaten up. Then, so that was what I lived by, So I had a lot of anger with her, and from there, really, I had to complete with her. I actually, so much made me do the completion in 2012 in Awakening. I had to call her because I was in the program. He said that if you don't complete, you cannot enter the next session. I was like, it got stuck. So I called her, and something that I ran away for many years, I never want to confront this. But Swamiji put me in a situation that I have no choice but to complete. So I just had to do it. So when I did it, it was better. The outcome was better than what I imagined. You know, for the first time, she acknowledged why she was like that, which surprised me. I thought she would just, get angry or whatever. No, she acknowledged why she was like that. When she acknowledged that, I just realized, oh God, she's also a victim of her own circumstances, her pattern. So all my anger just melted away towards her. In that place, compassion flowered. So that brought so much completion between me and my mother. So now from the incident, and whenever I see her, I just had so much love and compassion for her. So I no longer carry any anger towards her after that completion. So that was such a miraculous, completion by Swamiji's grace. So from then on, of course, I work on my own self-completion. Then I complete with my son. So layer by layer, I started completing. I almost like took 9 months during that 2013 just to complete many, many layers of my patterns and all these, violence, like guilt. You carry guilt is also an inner violence, okay? Anger and guilt is inner violence, okay? Angry with yourself. So all this, I have to complete one by one within myself. The guilt I carry, oh my God, especially for women, you carry guilt like, women tend to carry guilt. It's like, I don't know, it's like maybe for our biomemory, we tend to cherish guilt so much, more than the man. Relatively, I'm just saying, men tend to just overlook, okay, don't forget it. But women, it's like they have this deep affection with guilt. Anything that goes wrong, they will blame themselves. They are not able to accept themselves. They'll start to torture themselves with guilt. That's why women got a lot of psychosomatic problems because of guilt. Because guilt kills your intelligence straight away. Your sure intelligence is killed by guilt. And when that happens, imagine you don't have intelligence to move on your life because you're carrying the guilt. Guilt is like living in hell, mental hell. You don't need to go to a separate hell. You're already in hell because the guilt is constantly torturing yourself mentally. Okay? So drop all guilt. No guilt at all. I don't carry any guilt anymore. I used to. And that was what created my stage 3 cervix cancer. Guilt and pain. These were the two patterns which make me create cancer in my body. So complete all guilt. Okay? All the guilt you carry. What you didn't do, what you did, and you're not able to accept what you did. So see, one of the very apt explanations Swamiji says, guilt is nothing but looking at your past with your updated intelligence. How can you do that? You did what you do, in the past based on your best intelligence. And when you try to look at your past with your current intelligence, you surely will not able to accept, say, no, just accept that you did your best at that time. That was the intelligence you had at that time. Then you created whatever. Now, when I look at it, I just learned the lesson without the guilt. That is exactly how when I saw my mom, when she told me about how what she did to us, and I just saw that she did what she did at the time based on her intelligence at her age, because that's what she know only at that time. She trying to vent her frustration by taking on her children, right? So that's what she know only. And that was what the intelligence she had at the time. So I'm not going to, punish myself because of that. So I accepted that that's what she did the best for herself and for the children. So I accepted that, and then I moved on and learned the lesson. So main thing is learn the lesson so that you don't create the same mistake twice. That is intelligence. Don't just get stuck in guilt and forever replicating the same old past into the future and get yourself living in health, mental health. H-E-L-L, hell. Okay. Okay. So I need to drop, complete all the guilt, and then do the completion. You know, layer by layer. First, you complete with the violence first, and then the guilt also, you know, also do that. So, okay, Ishara, first find the source of your, the root incident that caused that, the anger. See, anger and violence are normally are interrelated. So find that out first, and then start completing the patterns you develop after that, that incompletion started, that violence. Okay. Okay, so why I say I always realize my mom has a lot of anger and violence. She's also raising her voice and getting angry. I get so irritated when she's not at, yeah, but when she's not at home, I feel peace. Yes. So see, your mom, especially a lot of women, they are like a victim of her own past, and they are not able to accept. They never do any spiritual, you know, tapas in completion, and never, you know, look at their life, you know, bring better awareness to their life. So naturally they'll carry a lot of guilt, anger, you know, intolerance and possessiveness, all kinds of patterns that comes with that, violent. So you need to help her to complete it. You need to, why so you need to sit down with her, but first you complete within yourself whatever irritation you have, because once your irritation is there, when she says something, you will be again, your irritation will flare out, and then you will not have the patience to listen to her. So you complete within yourself the irritation that she caused you, and you know, all that. Then find one day, you know, do certain completion with her, okay, and help her to, you know, bring that understanding so that she can drop that. Okay. Yes, you know what I mean. Yes, my mom is very angry with my dad and venting on us. Yeah, same thing. When you're angry with something, you know, they try to vent it on their kids. That's what happened to me. My mom was angry with life, and you know, all this, and then she just took it on our, all the children, and all children become the byproduct of her incompletion. So when you have the blessing of a guru, Swamiji, to show us the way, to come here and give us the powerful cognition and the right understanding, then now is our responsibility to make sure you yourself is complete, and also start enriching others around you, so that you don't fall into this whole cycle, this vicious cycle, where you breed and you feed the same old unconsciousness again and again to the collective consciousness, and more the whole humanity is being dragged down because everyone is stuck. Yes, it's a really, really beautiful completion with my mom. I really, very grateful to Swamiji. And now when I see her, you know, when I hug her, I don't feel anymore. Last time I never want to go near her. I never want to go near her because the anger was still there. So now when I see her, when I visit her once a while, you know, hugging her and, you know, showering my love towards her, it's become so spontaneous. It's no longer like running away. So that is one big, you know, sign of completion. You're able to see your mom as she is and not carrying any more incompletion, or it is really that shows that you have already completed with her within yourself. So, okay, let me just see. Any other questions from the Facebook? We're only 3 minutes left. I hope everybody answer the questions and all that. Everybody ask so that we can then. Okay, so basically, before I conclude, now we understand why kids are behaving like that. See, kids, all of them are not born like that. They are born from the space of completion. See, when you see them as a baby, they will never do any violence. They will not do anything. They're in the pure space of oneness, awareness. It is only when this, in the process of growing up, parents, society start inserting all this unconsciousness into them. That's why they start developing this violent tendency. So if we know the root of how this got started, you know how to remove, you will know how to basically stop it. Only when you know, then you can stop it. When you don't know, you'll be caught in this whole drama, psychodrama again and again and again. And in no time, when they grow up, they become depressed. Once they become depressed, it's harder to handle. So start young. That's why I want to say is that in Gurukul, in e-Gurukul also, we teach the kids all the important principles. See, in a few months' time, 2 months' time, we're going to launch e-Gurukul in Singapore. Okay, we're preparing for that. Even this session is a preparation for parents to understand the importance of e-Gurukul. Right now, having a physical Gurukul is not, possible in immediate, future. So we start with e-Gurukul. At least kids receive those inspiration and right knowledge, wherever they are. We want to reach out as many kids as possible so that they can in turn start living it. Understand? So I really hope all the parents and acharyas start enriching kids and parents for e-Gurukul, because only by doing that, we can start to infiltrate this right universal principle of Ahimsa to our next generation, to the parents, to the teachers. When they start understanding this and they start living it, more and more joy, more and more bliss, more and more, non-violence is happening in the outer world, more compassion, more peace. Okay, all these are interconnected. So Swamiji said that first thing first, work on non-violence. Of all the principle, work on non-violence first, because it's the root of many, many complications. Do you understand what I'm saying? Give me a thumbs up, all of you. Okay. So, great. With that, I'm going to conclude this segment now. So, all of you work on making e-Gurukul happen wherever you are. Let's start this whole work on raising the collective consciousness of our children, next generation, as well as the collective consciousness of humanity. With that, I'd like to conclude with the Puna Mantra. I thank you, Swamiji, for giving us this wonderful opportunity to discuss one of those very, very fundamental issues we're facing in the world. So let's end with the Puna Mantra. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sarvam Bhagavati Nityananda Paramashiva Bharata Paramastu. Om Nityananda. Thank you all for joining. Nityananda.